Hey, everybody. No song this week. I will spare you. Hello and welcome to another episodes. You hear me? Another episode of the Crossroads Podcast, a show for and about environmental justice and those who fight the fight with skin as melanated as the days are long. Knowledge is power, and we are breaking down stereotypes one episode at a time. Let's start the show. For this week's episode, I am sitting down with Raina, the creator of the Black Sustainability Summit and the Black Sustainability Network. Yes, the woman who is responsible for a lot of the guests that have been on the show so far. So we're sitting down to really talk about her summit for this year for 2019. It actually, by the time this airs, it has already started. It started October 10th and goes to the 14th. It is online only with some live Q&A, but you can visit blacksustainabilitysummit.com, all one word, for more information. For this episode, we really get into the connection that we need to have as a community back to the earth in terms of sustainability, and really talking about how much of the principles, African principles, are ones that we need to reinforce, basically reinvite back into our lives. So the title of this episode is ReAfricanization. I know that we discuss it in detail, and of course I will have some resources for everyone in the description box. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Crossroads. It's your girl, Rashida G, and today I am joined by none other than Raina Turner. She is the creator of the Black Sustainability Summit. It is an annual affair that she coordinates, manages, everything, organizes. And we are going to talk about her and her work in sustainability. Raina, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Rashida. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
You are welcome. So, I want to do a new segment called Giving Flowers. I want to have this segment so that we can salute heroes, pioneers in sustainability, or, each other, however it goes, or any members of the community who are with us or not putting in the work to help combat issues of environmental racism and environmental injustice. So, Raina, you have someone that you want to give flowers to.
I do. I actually want to give flowers to Mama Dr. Nobantu Ankawanda here in Atlanta, hailing all the way from California. Yes, she has been a pioneer, I will say, in this sustainability movement, and much more so as far as re-Africanization and educating our children. She's had a school in California. She hosts an annual Collard Greens Festival, cultural festival, which is actually happening this weekend in Lithonia, Georgia. And she has been the elder who took me under her wing. I sat at her feet. I sat at the feet of many other elders, and I'll get into that a little bit later on. But I'm not negating what I just said. And I know how much she sacrifices for our community and how tireless she puts in all of her energy, managing all of her children, managing all of the work that she does, all of these committees and councils. And she's often one of our unsung mama elders. And I want to give her flowers while she is here.
That's really sweet. That's so great. And for my giving flowers, I'm giving them to you.
Oh.
No, because you are really responsible for changing the course of my podcast. Like when I first started, which, is part of my capstone project, I had this idea, I had some ideas of shows I wanted to have, and guests were not at the top of the list. I just thought it was going to be me getting on and talking. Mm-hmm. And that's not what I got. I got something that I did not expect that was just infinitely better. I met you, by simply sending you an email, and you took a chance on me. You don't know who I am or my background or anything about me at all, and you still were willing to help me. And it really it literally changed everything. All the guests that I've been able to have, even from that, other people that I've met just by connecting with you, and then, getting you involved with my cohort and for our plans that we're working on, and just a lot of communication and just coming together. And I owe that to you. And I'm giving you flowers, because we, as we were talking about, we as Black women, we have to uplift and uphold each other and be, fill each other's cups, and help and support. So I am grateful to you, and I'm grateful that you took the time to be with me today.
Give thanks. Thank you so much. It means a lot. It really does. I will give one little note. I know you introduced me earlier as Raina Turner. I do also go by Afia Raina, and I won't say recently married, but somewhat recently married. So it's a hyphenated last name, Turner-Greenly.
Ooh, hey. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So tell me about your origin story. What prompted you to get involved with working in sustainability?
I can honestly say that I was pretty much always on this path from an early age. I distinctly remember all of the yearbook. You know how people write in the back of your yearbook wishes and quotes, and always being called, Black this, sister soldier this, that. And I do attribute it to probably, I think it was about the 6th grade. I had read Chancellor Williams' Destruction of a Black Civilization. And I had attended a few Nation of Islam events whenever Farrakhan would come in town. My uncle was affiliated with the Nation. And just to be fair, I really wasn't aware that was the path I was pursuing as a part of my work. But at an early age, I was so interested in connecting with my ancestral heritage and learning about who we are as a people prior to the Ma'afa, or transatlantic enslavement trade. I thought the biggest issue at that point was really telling our story. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to learn marketing. This is the biggest issue in the media. We get so represented. This is what I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn from the best, and I'm going to come back to my community, and I'm going to create positive images in the Black community. I looked at Tom Burrell's book. I was just like, okay, This is what I'm going to do, right? So fast forward, right? I get to college. I end up with a dual degree in marketing and international business, and there's the cry.
Hi, tiny baby.
Yeah, that's her in the back. I'm a mama too. But I really, really fast forward to, I was working with the Department of Commerce, and then ending up in California for a few years. Then I went to South Africa and then the Congo, the DRC. And at that point, I don't know if it was like this ancestral just spirit that overtook me or what it was. But when I got back from South Africa and the DRC, I really assessed what I was doing and my commitment that I had made. I want to learn from the best and come back home and apply it to my community, because my father and mother instilled in me, too much is given, much is required.
Yes.
I'm going to get to answer your question, I promise.
Oh, no.
But I'd be remiss if I didn't share that. And it awakened this ancestral remembrance, or it's just this reawakening.
That's right.
That's right. This ancestral awakening almost. So that when I returned back home, at that point I was living in California. When I returned back home, I was like, you know what, it's time. I ended up packing up, ended a relationship, and moved back to Atlanta. Can you go watch Akili?
No.
Why not? You hear what I'm dealing with, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay. Come on. You want to eat? Okay, let me come help you eat. All right. Show me where the food is. Let me follow you. Yeah, show me this food. You hear what I'm dealing with? A talking 1-year-old fully talking.
She's like really talking.
Yeah, she's like, no, what, mommy? Come this way. Okay.
Oh
So, yeah, that's what
tiny genius.
That's what breast milk does.
Oh my God.
This remembrance. So I returned back to Atlanta and pretty much resumed this unapologetic journey I started on, and really focus on re-Africanization and returning to indigenous living. After seeing what I saw on the continent, everything is not what is depicted as. Good Lord. Come here.
I think we might keep all of this.
You think so?
I'm gonna listen back to it again and be like, yeah, this is good. Keep all of this. This is hilarious.
It is. I see. So she has her Kiswahili stuff on. Go sit down and yes, yay. Can you take
What's
it?
a Keely?
There's a little show. It's not even little. It's the big thing. It's made it everywhere. Many parents that are quote unquote conscious. Girl, this is a saving grace. I do not believe in letting the TV teach your children. However, she learns, it's Akili and me, Akili and me. And there are so many different images of Black children, live children, cartoon characters, and they teach them everything from ABCs to the numbers. She knows all of her ABCs backwards, forward. She can read a few words, and I'm not kidding. Her father did not believe me. I wrote the letters BOX. She said box. I said, okay, I'm done. I'm done. Girl is sharp.
She's gonna be driving by 5.
Right. She can count to 5 by herself, forwards and backwards, and identify so many things. Her vocabulary, I think we started writing it down. 60 words that she is fully, I'm not just saying it as her mom. I know people feel like that, but seriously, she has a full mastery of what these words are, what they mean, and how to use them in sentences.
Wow.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, I knew she wasn't playing when because I heard her say hello, which means that she knows.
She sees me even with these headphones on. She's like,
hello?
Hello. But yeah, so I think I talked about re-Africanization, returning to indigenous living and seeing it. I was just saying that the images that are depicted on the continent are always, this lower lifestyle versus this connection to nature and these buildings that many people don't see. It was really the community and the communing with nature and living in a way that wasn't diametrically opposed, right? And so I think after I came back, I ended up connecting with the African-centered community in Atlanta and the global Pan-African community. And let me see, to answer your question, what prompted me to begin this work? I was clear that sustainability wasn't a new concept for people of African descent, and those considered to live in quote unquote third world countries, which genuinely are first world countries, just looking at the way in which they are able to be sustained throughout time. And here we are trying to figure it out on this way, on this side. Yeah. It's really a livity. And many people embrace it as a part of their worldview, but this Western Eurocentric worldview, as I mentioned, is in opposition to living aligned with nature and being a part of it. And it's embedded in religion and language and philosophy of thought. So living in the United States, we're fully indoctrinated. And by studying with elder scholars like the Barudis, Nana Marimba Ani, Mama No Bantu, Nana City, my midwife, studying Nana John Henry Clark, Amos Wilson, Ayi Kweyarma, I could keep going. So May, Bobby Wright, Garvey, Walter Rodney, Empress Menon, Brother Malcolm. I could just rattle them off. Just studying them and studying with a group of people of like minds really helped me to dig in deeper that we're all part of the whole. And what affects the least of us affects us all. Yes. And some people take pieces of what they say and think, okay, this is dealing with social issues or this is dealing with economic issues. But holistically, this is what they were talking about, it being interconnected. And so once I learned about others that were really, really focusing on rebalancing and intentionally focusing on what's quote unquote termed sustainability in a broad way, I was really welcomed with open arms to continue this work. And instead of trying to learn from those who are just realizing its importance, my path really has been to embrace this ancestral knowledge of self, which ultimately led me to where I am, being unapologetically African, kind of being like this net weaver. Somebody described me that way last week.
That's appropriate.
And then hosting this annual summit and being engaged civically and globally in the holistic development for African people.
So Going back really quickly, when you're talking about re-Africanization, what is that? What does that mean, and how would that look for people, for us as Black Americans?
It looks like this unapologetic acceptance of who you are, this knowledge of self. So people can say, oh, well, I'm mixed with this, and I got this part this, and I've got this part that. And widely, many of us know that there were Africans here prior to enslavement, right? There's a rich history here. And we know that we did mix with the native populations that were here, that were also murdered and wiped out largely. But what they don't talk about is that resistance. And so when I talk about re-Africanization, it's really understanding who you are, embracing it and walking in it. Almost, I can't remember who it is. I think it was Nana Marimba. She talks about to be African in itself is an act of resistance because you're rejecting all of what's around you, not telling people I don't do this and I don't do that. It's really in the way that you live and the way that you operate and a greater connection to self. So it looks like studying if you get on that path. And it's not for me to tell you what to study and who to study. I can give you some direction and some suggestions. However, it's really a path that you follow to better understand who you are, where you've come from, the people that you've come from, and the great empires and philosophy of thought that they applied prior to being enslaved, indoctrinated, colonized by these others who have a very different worldview based upon their interaction with the world.
Right.
So that's what I mean by re-Africanization. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
So let's talk about the summit. So first, I want to know, what was the planning like for the first summit that you did? And like, what prompted you to decide, you know what, this is where I'm going to put some of my energy and really intention around growing this into something bigger?
Ooh, that's a great question. When we started, when I say we initially started as the African Community Sustainability Collective. These were leaders and practitioners that had been doing this work, mostly our elders. Mama Nobantu, another. Hello, welcome, sweetheart.
That's
what?
Right.
More? Yes, more elders. Nana City, Opio, it's all gone. Would you like some coconut water?
Yes.
Okay, let me go get you some coconut water. Come with me. It was a group of elders, about 5, that had been doing this work for some time. And they kept saying, we want to have a conference. We want to bring together some of the people that we know. And we want to have them in place. And so I'm coming in at this late stage with them still planning. Nothing has been set. No dates have been set. But they're saying, this is what we want to do. I get brought in. And to their credit, I will say this. I know a lot of young people have their challenges with our older generations, with our elders. Yeah. Some olders, quote unquote, because to be an elder, you got to have some wisdom.
Message.
No shade.
It's no shade. It's not shade if it's true.
It is true. So for our elders, there's a cosmogram. If you allow me just a few seconds, there's a cosmogram, a Congolese cosmogram called the Kanga de Congo. And I wish you could see it, but for those who are listening, do some research, pull it up. But it's a circle that is split into 4 quadrants, and it looks like the Coptic Church's cross, which predates the Ankh, right? And this is found in Ethiopia, but it's also found in the Congo, and it's a cosmogram that fully explains how connected we are to the cosmos. And you'll be able to read about it, so I won't belabor the point. But what I'm really getting to is the connection between our elders, our youth, our middle-aged people who are supposed to be doing all of this work, and then ancestorhood. And when you are an elder, you should be training and passing that knowledge and wisdom so that those who are at the height can continue doing your work. And your energy should be to giving directly to the children as well. One of the things that our elders, or these elders, did for me was not only did they pass the torch, they encouraged me to take ownership of this summit. And with that, they did not insert or have major input to say, no, you do it this way. They said, well, what do you think we should do? And I told them, I said, we should do something online. Let's do something online so we can reach as many people as possible. And they said, great. Can you do it?
Oh.
So, and this is how I am here today. I ended up building my first website, which was the Black Sustainability website from scratch, and organized all of the online and digital pieces. And the elders that were there were fully responsible for helping me to connect with others. So I knew quite a few people that were within this movement, and they knew quite a few people who had been in this movement. And so to look at the diversity and to see within our first year, we had over 35 presenters from around the globe based upon that work that were able to not only submit a video, right, which is work in itself. I edited the videos, and they made sure that they were there on the Q&A sessions live from wherever they were across the globe.
Wow.
Those elder mamas in their late 50s, 60s, and 70s were all online because they were so dedicated to this work. So when you ask how I did it, I really can pull that proverb of, if we stand tall, we are standing on the shoulders of those who came before us, who have been doing this work.
Yes.
And I definitely am carrying this work forward because I'm standing in the shade of some trees that I know I didn't plant, but I'm definitely benefiting from. So yeah, that planning process was very interesting. It largely ended up falling on me. Not saying that they didn't have input, but a lot of that work did get done by me, and am continuing that work now with solid volunteers. Mama Nobantu is still always active and carrying that torch and supporting all of the work that continues to be done.
Wow. That's just, it's really great that you were able to handle that, the pressure and just the spotlight, and making certain that that first summit was a success. And that's just, and it also shows the importance of the collective. Like, it is something that you did and it is your achievement, but you recognize that you couldn't have done it by yourself, and everyone had to be just as committed as you were. So what are the subjects for the 2019 summit, and which ones are the ones that you're the most excited about?
Ooh, that is a great question.
I try to get, some good questions.
Yeah, you did good. Well, so this year, as always, we focus on sustainable agriculture and growing your own food, right? In order to be self-sufficient as a people, it's not just about food, though. It is about your water resources, holistic health. How do you incorporate that? Eco-friendly building, economics, group economics, alternative energy sources, our own education, and security. This year, one of the things that we are pulling, in addition to our past presentations, is a hemp workshop. Yeah, hemp is getting big, whether it's CBD or for fiber. It's getting big. And I've talked with a few people who have all promised to give me a pre-recorded presentation, and they'll be tuning in for live discussions, questions, Q&A, and some of them have already actually aligned some of their in-person workshops with the online summit. So we typically do online, in-person, and this year is the online component, and next year in 2020 we will be in Ghana for in-person workshops.
Whoa, I want to go.
You should come.
Yeah, I need to go.
Yeah.
And something else, like I just recorded with Eric Range from Minorities for Medical Marijuana, and I'm sure you probably are familiar with them, but I would love to connect and see, maybe in the future.
Please, yes, connect. Not no, yes, connect us. No, I haven't engaged him specifically for this. I would love to, and would love that perspective.
Yeah, they're really great.
We
were just talking about medical marijuana, of course, and hemp, and the uses for CBD, and so definitely gonna make that happen. I like that. So what are you looking to get out of this upcoming summit, and then also what goals are you looking for the future, for future summits or future events and things that you'd like to do?
This year, I'm really looking for a year of reflection, I will say. I want to reflect on what is now a compilation of 111 presentations over the past 3 years.
Wow.
Yes. And this is all time that people have donated. We haven't paid anybody to present for the summit. This is all, I have been doing this work. I love this work so much, and I know it's going to benefit my people to share what we've done, share how we've done it, and then call me, connect with me, either come support my work or ask me for some solutions on how you can apply what I've done in your own community, or with your own challenges. And so this year we'll just be reviewing those past presentations. We're picking our top 15 and leaving the 111 still open for people to view it, but we're focusing on our top 15 videos from 2016, 2017, and 2018. And that is from October 10th all the way through the 14th. On the 13th and the 14th, we will have live Q&A with the past presenters for those 15 videos. We cannot possibly do 111. So we picked our top 15. And the vision for the future is being able to find somebody who can help me with this digital work. Yes.
You just give me 2 more years and I'll figure it out.
Come on. We need digital downloads so people can purchase these packages. We've gotten permission from a lot of our past presenters to utilize this for fundraising purposes. Each year we offer this for free for our people for 5 days. It is free. And we ask for donations just because this is coming out of my pocket. It's coming out of the volunteers' pockets. If there's no corporation, there's no business. I'm just now wrapping the summit into my formalized sustainable community solutions consulting firm just because I cannot continue to support it personally. It really does just come from donations. And I got to do a better job of asking for sponsorships. I just have been... You hear my daughter, you hear all this other stuff I'm going through. So I can only do so much, and the volunteers can only do so much, and they typically come through in the clutch, but we need a way to make this actually sustainable. So the vision for the future is for this to grow. It's to move from being just a summit, which we've done this year, moving from just a summit to that 2,000 member network formalized of people that are of African descent or indigenous populations that are in this movement, that are doing this work. Join our formalized network and join us on our app as we have discussions, share opportunities, share funding opportunities, workshops that are free or at discounted rates for our members. And hopefully by this fall, I'll be launching a sustainability subscription box to help teach better habits for our people so that we can live more sustainably.
So, switching into sustainability quickly, because I hear the child is having an entire meltdown.
Oh, yes. Oh, you can hear that in the back. All right.
Oh, yeah, I can hear it.
Okay.
I mean, I have werewolf ears, but it's fine.
Okay.
But, so I'll make it quick is the point. What is some of the challenges that you faced while trying to reduce your carbon footprint? Like in the process of learning what you were able to learn, what has that process been like for you?
Oh, yes. So just a note, running a green workforce development training program with one of my, I guess I can call them clients or partners. We're so intertwined. Habesha, technically I'm a consultant, so I guess it'll be a client, but more of a partner, and have been doing this green workforce development program. And one of the things that we asked them to do is to go to Eco Footprint, I think, and check their ecological footprint. And so every year, I think I'm going to get better. But it's really all that flying I do to go and see our brothers and sisters on the other side of the water that increases my carbon footprint. So I thought, okay, hop in the shower, turn the water on, then wash, and then turn the water off. Don't drive as far. We've got an eco-friendly vehicle, hybrid, we do what we can. And I will say, even with that, one of the things though that ecological footprint quiz doesn't take into account though are the amount of trees and green space and agricultural spaces that we contribute to each year that offset that carbon footprint. So I'm going to still fly. I love the planet Earth.
I mean, how else are we supposed to get around?
Right. I apologize. So I say, I'll pour my libations and give thanks to you again, and just know it's not coming from a place of malice.
Hatred.
But I gotta get there. So that's really the biggest impact that I have is is the flying. I will say I've decreased in so many other ways and inspired my family members to actually decrease it. I don't know. My husband is even more environmentally friendly than I am. He is a minimalist to a T. I thought I was a minimalist, but I guess I'm a minimalist without the T, and he has the T on there. So I big him up. Big up to Charles.
He does.
Well, he focuses on green space management, edible landscapes, agriculture. He installs a lot of gardens, and he looks at low impact methods for removing invasive species. He's an educator, and I love him because he definitely is really about this equitable distribution of not just, I don't even want to say power, but he's a very mindful individual and is very connected to the earth. And if he had his tithers, he would always be outside working with the soil and with the earth, and does a great job in all of those aspects. So I love him. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. And doing this work as a Black woman by yourself, what are some, when you're looking at these larger organizations like, oh my God, I was going to say the panda people, the Wildlife Fund, and these larger mainstream groups, you know, I guess not just what do you see, but I mean, does it make you frustrated or concerned that there's not so much a focus in these mainstream groups to really talk about sustainability and from an equity lens? There is no real talk about not just the larger ecosystem that we're all living on and depending on, but our issues, things that specifically affect us. Do you notice that? Does it anger you, or how does that make you feel, I guess?
Yeah, I notice it. It's very blatant, and I will say this: it doesn't anger me because on that whole ReAfricanization piece, when you understand who you're dealing with and the environment that you're in, my expectations are pretty low for what they're going to do, and sadly. Disproportionately, we as melanated people are very receptive to what goes on in our environment. We have a decalcified pineal gland, and we're very receptive to what goes on in these changes and shifts in our environment and with I don't even want to say nature because we're a part of it. Just to make the distinction for those who aren't necessarily there yet, what happens to the squirrels and what happens to the birds affects us. What happens to the trees affects us. We're all connected. If the trees go out, where is our source of oxygen? If the water is all polluted, we don't get new water. We don't get more water. And so to see these large organizations pushing these things as if we are just so separate and segmented, as if we're not going to be here. The population on this planet is already majority melanated beings. Contrary to popular belief or contrary to popular rhetoric. And so when I see them operating without this equitable lens or this diversity and inclusion, it's just something that they speak about and it's not something that they actually live. I see an opportunity, one, for our network members to pipe in and not be a part of those organizations, but to consult with them, to stand in and say, you know what, hey, listen, racial diversity, ethnic diversity is an even greater piece than even this gender diversity that's being pushed. I think McKinsey did a report on it. I have to send it to you if you're interested in reading it. But they say that your lived experiences and the connection to nature and the experience that you have with nature so greatly is different than those that are in the mainstream, that it actually helps the company reach their bottom line, hit that triple bottom line return. And so if you want to look at it from an economic lens, which typically is the language that they speak in, it's there. Yes. But sadly, that's not it's not something that's widely adopted. It's not something that they do. It's not something that we're going to see. And that's the importance of us having our own spaces and coming together collectively. I would say that's the greatest challenge that we have right now. We've been operating in our silos and doing phenomenal jobs. What the summit and what this network is, and I'm not saying I'm the only one doing it. However, I have gotten a lot of people saying, this is so great. I didn't even know this existed. I'm so happy to join with others that may not be doing specifically what I'm doing. But now there's
Right.
a general space for us to meet, connect, and then amplify within that space. And so that would be my only piece to them, that they may not have it all. They may not even have pieces of it. We have everything that we need. We just need to return back to the way our ancestors lived by pooling our resources, our capital, and knowing that we and ourselves are assets in so many different ways.
Yes, and I think we've definitely reached, the crossroads where it's time to kind of bring all of these pieces in together. So we've touched on your summit and what the journey that it was to get you from creating the first one to where we are today. And you're being gifted by all these people coming together, collective bargaining, to put on this summit to do a live Q&A specifically for the selected previous recordings, and giving listeners and participants an opportunity to ask questions. And then we're also talking about sustainability, mainstream sustainability, or what it's mostly being called or classified as most like the climate change movement, and really asking to have these things looked at through not just through a sustainability lens, but an equity lens.
Yes.
Which would level the playing field.
Yes.
So we're not just focusing on middle class issues, but some of the more specific things that plague us, like being in areas with landfills or incinerators or lead smelters.
Yes.
Things that cause us direct physical, psychological, emotional harm. And I think that really what I'm trying to say, or what I believe, is that all of these things are connected, and it is our responsibility to do what we can to support each other in our work, even as you said, even if it's different. So what are some of the successes, the things that you've done when you think about the grassroots work that you've been doing and the folks that you've been meeting? What are some of the things that you are the most proud of?
Ooh, I'm proud of everybody being present. It is hard to get people who are sacrificing day in and day out, time and time again, doing this work from sun up to sundown, oftentimes thanklessly, to get together and sacrifice their time to share what they've learned. I did mention that they've done it without being compensated. I'm just very proud of all my brothers and sisters, even for those who can't join us, that they're continuing to do this work despite what you've seen, right? Not having the resources, being in areas where they've been intentionally placed in these spaces.
Yes.
They've run so many interstates directly through our communities, divided them. Today, we've done a tour of Proctor Creek. Many of our waterways have been systemically and intentionally polluted. We don't have access to clean water. Typically, we are living in these dumping grounds just due to the economic disadvantages, right? So land is cheaper here. I move here, I may not even be aware that I'm next to 5 landfills and all of the soil that's been there, the soil that's been impacted. And I may even try to grow my own food and not even be aware that these are some of the things that I'm ingesting. Not to mention the air quality and the fact that Black people and people of African descent I think it's 2 times higher rates of asthma that they experience, and 4 times higher rates of dying due to asthma-related illnesses than their white counterparts.
Yes.
And so when we talk about, injustice and environmental injustices, we have to make sure that we're very clear, that this is not something that we just ended up jumping into, or I just picked my house. This is by design. These 20, 30-year plans, people keep talking about gentrification. I'm getting pushed out here and I'm getting pushed out there. These are plans that have been enacted. And so once you realize that you may not have created this problem, it's almost the equivalent of somebody coming to your house today, right? Rashida, they come up, they've got this big dump truck and they dump this trash on your lawn, right? And then in the morning you see another load of trash that's dumped on your lawn. And day and day and day and day after that, there's more and more trash being heaped on your lawn. Now, you don't own a dump truck, right? Consider the fact that you don't have the access to the city to actually come back and pick it up. You have to go out there and shovel it, right? Day and day. You're not going to have that done in 7 days. You're not going to have it done in a year if it continues to happen because it's on a larger scale, but you are being impacted. So you have a responsibility to actually go back and fix it. And so that's what we're experiencing. We haven't created these problems on a large scale, but it is our duty as stewards of this planet, in line with our ancestors and being the ones that are most connected to this earth and most affected by it, to do something. Whether we focus on water, whether we focus on social issues, whether we focus on education, whether we focus on air quality and the size of particulate matter that's entering into our airspace, we have to pick something and contribute in some way. We can't just continue going on as it's been, business as usual, because we definitely are seeing the effects not only now, but on our children's children. All these fibroids and issues that people are having with these birth rates, it may not be us on a large scale, but we are still being impacted, and it passes down genetically.
Yes. And one thing I have got to reiterate is what you said about we know that we are not the main perpetrators of these issues, because something that I think that people may believe or may think that environmental issues are not that serious as compared to economics or things like that, but it is going to be a much larger situation than economics when the shit hits the fan.
Right.
And and this might be the gloom that I said in the first episode was coming, but it's going to get real now. We're talking about this 2 degrees and all that. It's like, if it goes up 2 degrees, and and that's fine. And that I know people have to have like a bar to set, like the doomsday clock to kind of put the fear, but I'm we have a very limited access to drinkable water. Mm-hmm. I want to say it's 2%. I could be incorrect.
I think it's even a little limited. Less than that now, considering,
maybe it's 1%. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like
that's
1
all the water that we have to drink.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And I mean, if we're not recharging our ground aquifers, if we're not instituting all this green infrastructure, right? So in the city of Atlanta, and around the globe, I'll use Atlanta because that's where I am. You see this Office of Resiliency, right? And it was birthed out of this Rockefeller 100 cities. It's technically 101, right? They put all this money there to make sure that these metropolitan areas, these main cities, are able to be resilient when climate change actually starts to impact them so negatively that they have to have these systems that are in place, right? How are you going to withstand these shifts, these ebbs and these flows, right? Not just with water, but with your resources, right? Because as you said,
right,
when it hits the fan, money is green, but money is also this concept, right? What is it backed on? What is it actually made out of? What actually holds value? If you can change the value, right? So at the end of the day, what's valuable, what most of these wars are going to start being fought over, if not already, is not even just your land. It's really over your water, because you can go how many days without food? How many days can you go without water? Right? Clean water. And if the water poisons
3
you,
days?
yeah. If your water is poisoned, if you don't have access to it, that's it. Can you imagine not being able to bathe and brush your teeth, but being able to drink clean water? It's not from the sense of, let's get serious because this is the end. It's really, let's get serious because we all live here. We don't have to experience what we're experiencing if we change our habits.
Put that on a shirt.
Look, for real.
Let's get real because we all live here.
Look, you and I, let's go into business and start selling these shirts. Come on.
Boom, done. We're done.
Seriously though, to your point though, climate change is real, and what people are not looking at is once people are flocking to these cities, these quote unquote resilient cities, what happens to those who can't afford to stay, that get pushed out, where those pieces are not in place, that transportation, that distribution.
Right.
What happens if you live out in the suburbs and there's a major event? You don't have that distribution center. You don't have that access to food. So unless you're growing it, unless you're capturing your own rainwater, unless you've become in tune with how to secure your perimeter and how to provide for your family, if you don't have access to Kroger, because Kroger is done in a few days.
To shooting.
Right. You're not armed. You don't have anything. There are so many different implications once that starts rolling down. So we have to be serious if we're talking about our families. We can't just sit by passively. And we are descendants of the most resilient people. There's no reason why we have to stand by and passively accept what comes our way when we have the power, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the resources to get things done right now. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Let me step down off my box there. Okay.
When I said no, because when I started this, I was like, I'm not gonna bang the drum too hard, and I don't want to be super gloomy and down, but the reality is, like, this is that little girl, Greta, just because she came over here on a boat.
Right.
And, you know, is everyone loves her. I get it. That's fine. It's no shade to her. It's no shade to her. She's fine. It's fine.
Right.
Point
Right,
is
no shade.
that she's not the only person that's doing the work.
Thank you.
And we need, it's, to me, it is still continuing to reinforce the images that the only people who care about the environment are whites. And that's not true.
No, it's not.
So, yes, it has to be gloomy and doomy because we have got problems and we've had problems. And unfortunately, the environmental justice movement wasn't kicking off like that during civil rights, but it became an offshoot of it. And we have to get engaged and bring and shed light on the folks who are doing the work, because it affects us a million times more. Part of the reason I started this podcast was I was watching the Breakfast Club, Fat Joe, and I love Fat Joe. So Fat Joe was talking about, it was a couple years ago, and he was talking about the hurricane that hit Florida. I'm probably going to get the name wrong. I think it was, I don't remember which one it was. But he's like, he had no idea that poor neighborhoods, black and brown, were more affected by natural disasters than others. He didn't know this. And I'm like, Fat Joe isn't an idiot. He's an affluent person. He's got friends in high places. And if he doesn't know that, I can only imagine who else does not.
Right.
So, you know, and this is why I was like, you know, this is what I need to be doing. And I need to find people who are also doing this work too, so we can amplify the sound.
Yeah.
So now I'm off my soapbox.
No. I mean, it's true. And to your point, I will say this. The imagery, kind of where I started, you know, when I first said I was inspired, I want to go and deal with marketing and showing more positive images. Now it really comes into, we actually are out here doing this work. We do live it. We may not be doing it on these massive, massive scales, but there's so many people who aren't even talking about the work they're doing. They're just doing it. And that's what's been so important about the summit, is bringing together those who are doing this work and then asking them, hey, do you know somebody else that's doing this work? Can you highlight them? Let's have them join us. And we found out about so many people, not even just doing the work in these pockets and these silos, but some who have brought other people together, and they've actually built their own self-sufficient communities.
Right.
And
that's
so,
what we need to amplify, to give examples.
We do.
You know?
We do.
Going. I'm sorry.
No. That's where I was going with it. It's really about this raising this profile that we are here, that we are doing this work. And for those that don't see us in that space, to counter the narrative, not just, oh, hey, we're the first to do this. No, it's more so our people can see that and take that up and take it on. We see so many young black children and youth, you know, in school now for careers related to sustainability or green infrastructure. And these jobs are coming out. These are a lot of opportunities also to increase our economic stance. And not even just in the United States, but across the globe. And so if if you don't see somebody that looks like you, that does it, the impact of that is so large. That's why it's important to have culturally relevant curriculum, culturally relevant, you know, ads and images. And making sure that we promote it and that we own that narrative, because it also gets twisted, right? There's another proverb, right? Until the tale of the lion is told by that lion, right? That history will always be told differently by the hunter, right?
That is the exact quote I have on my website.
Look at that. Look at that. I should have gone to your website.
Would you look at that?
Yeah, look at that. But yeah, that's really what it comes down to. And so thank you so much for having this and for amplifying our voices, for making sure that the listeners and people know that we are here, that we have been doing this work, we've continued this work, and this is not something new. Sustainability, these new terms that they throw out here, that they coin, this is something that we've been doing and that we've been living. It's not something new.
Right.
And we'll continue doing it when it's something else. Name something else.
Yes, we will.
It does. I will say this piece though. It does upset me that when I hear about diversity and inclusion, it's typically too late once it actually reaches our communities and it ends up trickling down as pennies.
Right.
One thing I will say to those larger institutions, if anybody is listening or knows about them, is to trust the grassroots organizations and pass the torch and the dollar so that they can continue doing that work.
Yes.
If you truly care about the environment, truly, and it's not just a racket and a way for you to rack up money and putting puppies with sad eyes, on the screen, and God forbid the bellies and just listen. Allow the people who have been doing this work in their own communities to continue doing that work and support it by rebalancing the economic scales. We know how to manage money. Look, we know how to manage money. That's a common misconception that, they mismanage funds. No, we've been able to do so much with a little dollar and still be here and still be making it and still be outside doing that work times 10 that then they end up taking pictures for and listing it on their website as part of the work that they've done. Taking credit off of the backs of those who have been out there toiling in the soil, toiling even in the schools. It's a lot to go through that process and to be alone and somewhat isolated and to still continue that work. That's a lot of love. That's a lot of love.
Yes.
So that would be my only addition to your question earlier, as far as what can be done or my thoughts around those larger organizations and that disproportion.
So we're coming to the end of the show. Tell everyone one more time, where can they find more information about the summit, the dates, and if you have any social media, give us that too.
Yes, you can find us online, www.blacksustainabilitysummit.com, all spelled out. We do have a Facebook page and Instagram, Black Sustainability Summit. If you'd like to join our network, if you are of African descent, indigenous people, please visit our website and then the top right corner, select join our network. You will then be invited to join us on our platform as well to stay connected. The summit is being hosted this year online only, with a few workshops here and there that we can share with others if they want some in-person experiences, but largely online only, October 10th through the 14th. And next year, we will be in Ghana in 2020. We do have layaway ticket options for those who can't pay all in one lump sum.
Come on, layaway.
We have layaway tickets. It is owned by a Haitian brother. Everything we do is Black owned and operated, African owned and operated. People of African descent, we support all. So if you can't pay for it now, that's all right. You can go ahead and put down a deposit and start paying on it after this summit ends on October 14th. So those are my last pieces. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you. I appreciate this, and I appreciate you, and I'm so glad that you could join me today, and I want to kiss that baby. I know. She is adorable.
She is.
So smart. I cannot believe it. Sheesh.
Yes.
She literally was like, hello, and yes and no, and everything. I was like, oh my God, is she really just one?
She is just one.
She's been here before.
She has been here before. This is an ancestor returning. I'm telling you.
So that wraps up another episode of The Crossroads. Thank you all again for joining me. On the next episode, I am sitting down with a close friend of mine to talk about housing. We'll see you then.